Hi, this is Chris, Video Game Dust Sleeves, and you're listening to the VGDS podcast with Bones06,
Yo, yo.
DanCavDragon,
Hello, everyone.
Dizzy the Gamer Jit,
Hey, how's it going?
and guest gamer Dren Hatamata.
How's everyone doing?
First segment, Sleeve it or Leave It. First title, T&C Surf Designs. Bones. Sleeve it or
I'm
leave
gonna
it?
go with yes to sleeve this one. I actually played a lot of this as a kid. I don't want to say it's a favorite. It was interesting, but I remember turning it off numerous times.
Dan.
Yeah, I'm with Bones. Played this a lot as a kid. I rented it and played the hell out of it during one weekend, and I got pretty decent at it. And I think out of all the LGN games, this is probably my favorite.
Dizzy.
I would sleeve it. I've never played the game, but I've always thought that front cover looked
Oh,
cool.
dude, you never played T&C?
I got to now.
Oh.
Might be a podcast pickup.
It's definitely a good game. I'm not gonna lie. It's hard as hell, but it's a good game. Dren.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I haven't played it, but that box art is definitely worth a sleeve.
Next title, Back to the Future 2 and 3. Dan.
All right, like based on last podcast, we were saying we would sleeve it if it was a good movie. So I like the movie, so I'll sleeve this game.
Jeez, this is looking very familiar from the last podcast. Bones?
Okay, I have it already in box, so I want the box sleeved.
Nice.
Definitely doable. You want the car popped out too? Dizzy?
2 games for the price of 1. This has to be a good game. Looking at my VHS box set collection of Back to the Future 1, 2, and 3, and the making of, I would sleeve it and put it right next to that, but probably never play the game.
Yeah. Dren?
I don't think I'd sleeve this one. Despite it being Back to the Future, I've always hated how things will come in the sequels alone, but not have the first one.
Yeah, right.
So if you're someone that's trying to pick up on a series they haven't played for, you want to play it through the beginning, you don't have the first one.
True.
So I'd probably leave it.
And not last title. Next title, The Uncanny X-Men. Bones?
I'm gonna skip this one, to be honest.
Dan?
Yeah, I remember not liking this game at all. I was really into the comic back when this came out, and I was disappointed by this game. So I would not sleeve it.
Dizzy?
I know the game's not good on this one, but I would sleeve it just because of the X-Men franchise.
And Dren?
So I'm not too familiar with X-Men overall. I think I'd leave it. I'm not too familiar, and after if the other reviews doesn't sound like it's too good.
No.
All right, and now the last title, National Football League. I don't do many sports title in here. Dizzy?
I actually would sleeve it. I don't play too much sports games, but it's not a John Madden, so I would sleeve it.
Dren?
I don't care for sports games overall, unless they're really quirky, so I'd leave it.
Dan?
Yeah, I hate to say it, out of all the football games on the NES, I think this is the worst.
Well, look
and-
at where it's coming from.
And also, it was unfortunate because back then, the license for the NFL was split between the players and then the teams and colors. So this game you had the teams and names and the colors, but you had generic players, and then to get the players you had to play Tecmo Bowl, and which was everybody knows is a much superior game. So yeah, this is definitely a no sleeve.
And Bones?
Yeah, no, this is not getting a sleeve. I did enough sports games on the 64. I will not do this game.
Again, what do these all have in common?
They're LJN.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I did LJ in the last podcast, just to let you know. I don't know. I was for some reason on the LJN kick. Wonder why that is, Bandana. Where are you, Bandana? Where are you? Again, Bandana's not here.
Double B hype.
All right. Go ahead.
Most of my experience as far as LJN, it has to. Most of it is with listening to AVGN.
Oh,
And so everything I have secondhand, I'd probably give most of the games a chance before I'd really say it's garbage or good.
Right.
But yeah, LJN definitely seems to have a lot more misses than hits.
For sure. I'm the same way. I don't judge a game without playing it. So you got to play a game before you can say whether it's crap or not, really.
Or at least enjoy why it's so bad.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people that enjoy crappy games.
Something that I've kind of done when something that I tend to do whenever I have games. If I get a bad game, I keep it so that way, if I ever come back to it, it reminds me why I don't like that kind of game and which games to avoid.
I don't play.
Tends to be like movie games. There's a lot of
typically.
misses in those.
Typically. Our next segment, guess that box art. Anybody have a guess for the first image? This one might be easy.
I think I know this one.
Go ahead, Dan.
Anybody else?
Starfighter?
No.
Nah.
This one might be easy.
That's so
You know
similar
it.
to something I've seen.
I know. Well, I'm pretty sure you would know it. You play RPGs.
Then I definitely don't know.
If you play RPGs, you probably know this title.
Well, most of my gaming started on the Super Nintendo rather than the Nintendo.
And this is a Super Nintendo game.
Is it?
Yes, sir.
Mm.
Dan knows
Rocket
it. I
Man?
know you know it now.
I
Yeah.
had 12 games most of the time. I probably have this on my computer and haven't touched it before.
It's a well-known franchise.
Do you know Dizzy?
Nah, not at all.
Yeah, me either. not gonna happen.
This is like an iconic pose for that box art too. Nothing, Dren?
No.
You're gonna kick yourself in the ass when you hear the answer.
I'm sure I am.
Dan?
It's Final Fantasy Mystic Quest.
Yep.
Oh, that's where I've seen that one. Man.
Yeah, most of the Final Fantasy games just have like the title, but this one actually has the guy on the front.
Yeah, now I remember that one.
That's why it's an iconic box art, because this is like the only Final Fantasy that has like somebody in it on the cover.
Yeah.
All the other ones just say Final Fantasy.
Yep.
Yeah, I think if it had been anywhere else, it probably would have been a dead giveaway.
Yeah, it would have been.
So it's not one I've had, but it's definitely one that I've touched on. As far as Final Fantasy, I'm actually working through all the Final Fantasy games on mobile
Cool.
because I have tons of downtime to play games at work.
Damn, I wish I had that. That'd be
Government
great.
job, I guess.
All right, next image. Anybody?
That's Malcolm in the Middle for 3DO.
No. If there was such a
man.
game, that would be pretty funny.
I don't know this off the top of my head, but
Can we get a console, please? I'd like to buy the Vow.
All right, N64.
What
Is-
in the
Oh
hell?
no. I remember this art. I can't remember the name. I played it a little bit at someone else's house.
James
And-
Bond.
You're getting there, Dizzy.
is
I
it a
know
James? Is it a James Bond game?
it's not GoldenEye. It's the other one with the
Yep.
blue card.
Yep.
Tomorrow
That's-
Never Dies?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the one.
Wow, I don't see
Actually,
that
no.
anywhere there.
Let me check. Let me check to make sure it's that one and not the other one. I even gotta verify myself.
I figured it was a Bond game because there's a gun, a skiing thing, and
No,
a
that's
boat.
not the right one. There's another one.
Oh man.
So if it's not Tomorrow Never Dies and it's not GoldenEye, there's only one other N64 game. That's a 007 title.
Yeah, I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Something lives.
No.
No.
I'm trying to remember titles. I'm not so familiar with James Bond overall, but the box art is always floating around somewhere.
This actually might have been actually one of the movie titles too.
Yeah, it has to be.
Right.
Is World is not enough?
Yep. That's it.
All right.
Hit.
Yep.
It's the next
Good
movie
job.
in that series. after GoldenEye and Tomorrow Never Dies.
I didn't want to cheat and look it up. Good job, Dan.
But I didn't realize they made a game out of all three movies on the N64.
Yep.
Yep. That they did.
Alrighty.
Okay, guys, on to the next segment, logo sleeve of the month. And it is our guest today on the podcast, Dren Hatamata. This sleeve is an NES. Yeah, everybody's waiting for me to butcher that, don't worry. And I did.
He got it.
The logo sleeve that we have here is an NES one, but you can get it in any dust sleeve that you would want, 64 Genesis, you name it. And we'd
PS5.
like to. No, nobody's getting PS5 sleeves right now. Dan, are you getting?
Hey,
PS5
it's already
sleeves?
happened, Bones. It's already happened. And it
PS5.
wasn't from Dan.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't get any PS5 game sleeve.
And even handhelds. You forgot handhelds.
No. We're gonna get back to what would Dren like to see in this dust sleeve.
You know what? I would probably go for the Super Nintendo version of this dust sleeve and put my copy of Chrono Trigger in it.
Chrono
Nice,
Trigger.
very
Nice.
good. Very good.
Definitely worth sleeving.
Oh yeah.
Been on my want to pick up list for a long time, and I still haven't done it.
It's just barely above the copy that I have for Final Fantasy 3. I'm surprised I actually managed to keep copies when it was my brother's originally.
Wow.
Yeah.
2 games I don't have.
Yeah, I don't. Not. That's what I said. I'm not huge into RPGs.
Neither am I.
That's like the one thing that my collection is lacking is RPGs in it. And the sad thing
And
is,
typically they're
not
the
cheap.
expensive titles.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you look at Shining Force and everything else. It's like, man, what am I looking at here? Everything's expensive. But if anybody's interested in these sleeves, hit up Chris at Video Game Dust Sleeves, and he will. I always say, Dust Sleeves. I always feel like I put an S on the end of Dust. But hit him up, tell him what you want, and he can accommodate.
Dan?
All right, franchise of the month. In this segment, we cover franchises and I pick one every month, and we go through it and see if anybody's played them. Last month, I started with a PC series that made the jump to consoles, and this podcast, same thing. And in this case, there are 2 franchises that had their origins on PC, and I kind of always lump them together in the same boat, and that would be Diablo and Baldur's Gate. They are similar types of games, and as you can see from the timeline, they both started in the late 90s, but they're still around today, and they're still making games in the series. And they have, and like last month, they started on PC and they made the jump to consoles later in its life cycle. So I'm just curious if anybody has played either of these series. That's Diablo again and Baldur's Gate, and if you have, and what are your thoughts about it? I'll start with Dizzy this time. How about Have you played any of these games?
Yeah, my answer might be the same as last time, but
Same with me.
yeah, what I know about Diablo, it was pretty popular on PC, and but that's pretty much all I know. I know they were really popular, but I've never played any of them.
All right. Well, there definitely a few games, that throughout that are on modern consoles that if you are looking to pick it up, if you're looking to go back and play them, you can definitely jump in. How about you, Bones?
Well, I actually have some input on this one. Not
All
like
right.
last.
On
not like last
Diablo,
time.
Bones? Diablo?
I honest to God, I was boxing stuff up. I believe I have that Diablo on PC. So
All right.
I have that. I don't know where I got it. I did play Diablo on PC years ago. I own the PS1 version. I really like that. I have the PS3 one. I only ever put it in, made sure the disc worked. I didn't really get into it. And I did buy the two Dark Alliances off of Retro Mikey when he was doing a purge the one time. So I do have those, but I have not played them yet. He said they were really good. I believe they have good reviews. So I do look forward to eventually trying them a little bit. But the only one that I've really put a lot of time into was the PlayStation 1. And years ago, I played a lot on PC. I just couldn't tell you which one it is. The one I know I have in box is not the original one that I had years ago. I don't have the Doom that I had years ago either.
Cool. Well, I'm glad somebody has played these. We'll go to our guest next. Dren, have you ever played Diablo Baldur's Gate?
Unfortunately, not. The most I can remember is watching my brother play Diablo 2 on PC, and I always wanted to play it, but the copy was never around when I was. The closest I've played as far as something like these games is Icewind Dale. Is probably the closest I can think of.
Yeah. Okay. That's similar to these. Yeah.
Yeah. I know as far as like stylistically, and this is the old Icewind Dale from the, what was it, 1990? Yeah, about probably 1998. I've actually got a physical copy, and
Cool.
I played a little bit through it. And as far as these games in general, it's definitely something to recommend, and it's very interesting as far as mechanics. But I couldn't tell you much about the overall games themselves.
Nice. And Chris?
Yeah, Dan. I'm in the same boat as last podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, no, these were enormously popular again. For if you're a PC gamer, I know plenty of people who spent hours and hours upon end playing these games. My take on it, they're kind of like gauntlet type of things where you have different characters and you can go around and power them up. And Baldur's Gate it's a D&D, it's a Dungeons and Dragons series, so it has that feel where you're like role playing and building up your characters, all the different weapons and stuff like that. So yeah, and then the other cool thing about the series is that you can see it starts in the early 90s, 2000, and then there's a long delay before the next chapter comes out. And so like you have like in the case of Diablo, you have like 10 years between Diablo 2 and 3, and then on Baldur's Gate there wasn't much action after 2004 until they decided to start bringing it out for modern consoles, and there's even remakes of the original game coming out that came out on the PS5. So yeah, so there you go.
I know when I first seen Diablo come out in the store, I really wanted to get it. I just never picked it up. I just like the box art on Diablo.
Yeah. And
Baldur's Gate, actually, I never even heard of it.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I think if you're a PC gamer, you probably would definitely have come across it at some point. And
I was never really a big PC gamer. I was always a console gamer.
Yeah, and then there is a Diablo 4 coming out this year, so be on
Is
the
that
look for that.
PC or is it going to be on console?
I think it's
Or
I think it's
both?
everything.
Everything.
For both,
Yeah.
I think, yeah. But,
It
all
looks
right.
like
What?
I was gonna say it looks like it probably follows almost the same trend as D&D itself, the tabletop.
Oh,
Like
really?
there was a huge span where basically no one was playing it, and then in the last 5 years, it's really blown up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I noticed that a lot of the card playing games came back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be why there's renewed interest in these series. So yeah, there you go. All right, that's it for franchise of the month.
Okay, now we get to learn a little bit about Dren. You could tell us where we could find you. That you could simply start with that, and then we can go and ask you some questions.
All right. Well, you can find me on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. I've got Discord, Patreon. No one needs to worry about that. For the most part, I've run my channel by doing the things that I want to do. I do have some somewhat regular content.
By
I-
regular content, like what kind of content do you?
Well, as of right now, it's streaming, but I try to do creepypasta or scary story narrations or
Nice.
various episodic gaming, and I've been doing it raw, which can get a bit drony, but I like the raw content because it makes it easier to do something more manipulative in regards to like making a review or
right.
parodying it or something like that. The core of my channel is that I want to show people that they have the same potential, that they have potential to do whatever they want, and trying to make this channel by leading by example.
Nice. That's a good
Nice.
motto.
Yeah.
Yeah, hence why my tagline is at the end of every video when I start doing my outro, it's feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you want to be my buddy. And always remember, you have potential. That's how I always end it.
Awesome.
Nice.
Like
Everybody sub.
that. You got my sub.
Yeah.
No
Um,
obligation context.
So, what do you collect as far as gaming's concerned? And do you
Um,
do anything besides like gaming on your? Well, you said you did a creepypasta, right? Is that what it's called?
Creepypasta, just like scary stories
Right,
that
right. You were
float
saying
around
that.
the internet.
Okay, got you. All right.
But,
Go ahead.
As far as collecting games, I haven't really considered myself much a collector. I find something that I like, or I go after something. It's very seldom. There's a lot
Okay.
that I've given up for the
Right.
sake of, having money in my pocket. But when I do collect, most of it just has to do with getting some of those memories back. But I tend to go for a lot of RPGs. There was a time where I wanted to try and collect every Zelda game, and now it gets increasingly harder.
I hear you. So you basically get what you play. Basically, you don't just collect to collect.
Yeah, pretty much. I would say that I'm mostly on Nintendo games if I had to really categorize.
I was gonna ask. That was my next question. What consoles do you play the most?
Mostly Nintendo. The Switch is becoming increasingly more amazing that they're starting to remaster and give us the emulators.
Yep. Hmm.
And I love that they're coming out with that because any preservation of older games is wonderful.
What's your favorite game of all time?
It's definitely a hard one. It's probably between Legend of Zelda. There's Breath of the Wild, Twilight Princess, and Ocarina of Time that are pretty much tied as far as a slot. And then as far as going to another franchise, there's Metroid and Star Fox. And I really like Star Fox Adventures, and I really like the Metroid Prime. So it's really
So-
hard between all those.
Huge Nintendo fan. Do you play anything else besides like Nintendo-based stuff? Do you have PlayStation, Xbox, or your computer?
Oh yeah, I've got a whole entertainment system full of stuff. I've got Wii, I've got Super Nintendo, I've got PS2, I've got a PS1 Classic that someone fixed up, so I have a ton more games.
Gotcha.
Xbox 360. Our roommate had a PS4 that just conked out, unfortunately.
Oh man.
We did manage to get a Sega Genesis with a few games. And, of course, we have various handhelds.
All right, Bones. Questions?
Well, you said you're big into RPGs. Did you, over the years, or even currently, have like obscure ones that you've played on, like say Sega CD or any of those oddball consoles that they've had over the years?
There is one for NES that I played that a lot of people that I know aren't very familiar, called I think it's called Crystals, if I remember right. That's probably the most obscure one I can think of. Most of the things I've played are fairly mainstream, unless you just don't use that console. So,
Wait, you
remember...
don't
Go ahead.
you don't have the ambitions to play the CDI Zeldas or anything like that?
Oh, I do. It's just expensive.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I would actually, as much of a bad rep as they've got, I've seen Game Grumps play it, and I would love to try my hand at it and hopefully not break it.
I have burnt copies of them, and it's just fun to actually get to try them because that, like you said, they're expensive. So having the burnt ones is great, but just getting to play those games is definitely unique.
Yeah, I wonder if an emulated interface will make it any easier or just make it harder.
I have no idea. No idea. Have you ever played and beat Earthbound? That's another good one.
I am currently playing it.
Oh my, nice.
Yeah, so I did start playing it on my channel. I actually have a few episodes I recorded last year that I still haven't edited and uploaded. But I'm also playing it on my Switch, and I'm playing that one with my wife. And I have no idea how to gauge where I'm at in the game because it's just all over the place. I have gotten all 4 characters, but I am looking forward to trying to beat it.
That's
Nice.
RPGs for you, all over the place.
Oh, I'd say Earthbound in particular is definitely one of those ones that's sending me everywhere. And it feels
to
like
get
I'm
nowhere.
Yeah, well, it feels like that. But then you complete the task that had nothing to do with what you're doing, and somehow that progresses the plot. And I'm just sitting here wondering, oh, okay, I guess that's happening.
I want that game, but I want it with the strategy guide. Like, I refuse to buy just a game. So when I do make that purchase, I want the strategy guide because I refuse to run around or be online trying to figure out what in the hell's going on because it does look extremely crazy.
If you pay attention, you know what's going on, except for there's one part that doesn't tell you anything about it. All it says is, you're supposed to enter it through a waterfall. Well, nothing tells you you're supposed to stand there for a literal 3 minutes.
Cryptic.
Yeah.
I'd give up.
That's what happens to most people is they give up because they're walking everywhere. They're way over leveled at that point, and they're just like, I don't know what to do. So
I was just say it's glitched.
That's what people will probably think. They give it back, and then years later, collectors like you and me can grab it from them. I guess.
One could hope.
Yeah. Is there anything that you have regret getting rid of over the years that you wish you had back now?
Pretty much anything that my brother took from his. Well, I mean, they were his games, but I have what's left now. He had Super Mario RPG: Legend of the Seven Stars. He let a friend borrow that, and so I don't have that anymore. And then And then he sold some of them, and like I really wish I had fought hard to keep some of those because he also had Final Fantasy II for Super Nintendo, and I never got to beat it. Yeah, I didn't beat Super Mario RPG either, so definitely some regret there. But I can't say. I'm trying to remember if I've actually gotten rid of any games willingly.
I typically don't get rid of any games, so.
Yeah, neither do I. Unless they're doubles. Sorry.
Yeah. Then
Oh,
I'm.
so a loaded question, I see.
Yeah.
All right, I got one more because I like to know. What is the best Christmas memory you have of getting a game or console?
It would be. When did it come out? I got a GameCube, and I think that was 2004. I got the Zelda Collector's Edition
Nice.
Ooh.
with it, and I still have it. My brother got me a copy of the Collector's Edition strategy guide from Nintendo Power,
Cool.
which is shiny,
All right.
and of course now it's all scratched up. But I think that's probably where I had some of my best memories as far as getting a game or console that didn't include my wife.
That love shows character to the beat on that manual or strategy guide or game. It's the history behind it. Never forget it.
Yeah.
Okay, Dan, you want to go next?
Sure. So what was your how far back do you go? Like, what was your first video game console that you owned?
The first console I owned, I would have to say probably Super Nintendo from my brother. I guess I'd follow that up with the first console I actually bought myself. As far as the first console in that regard is the Nintendo Switch. So, but
Wow, that's
Yeah.
recent.
That's a big jump.
yeah, that was the first console I bought. And it was because I'm 29. That was what 2013 or 11 or I forget. I
Okay.
forget how long it's been. Yeah, but
Yeah. So that was your first. That's when you first played video. Start getting into gaming.
yeah, Super Nintendo.
Right.
So, like I said, it was my brother's Nintendo. That's what first got me into gaming, and I had all of what 12, maybe 15 games that I could play through, and when I couldn't figure one thing out, I'd go to the next one, and turns out over time of swapping cartridges, things start to wear out a little bit. So,
No, yes.
So then, when you have a Super Nintendo and you don't know how electricity works, you do weird rituals to try and get a game to work, like holding reset for 13 minutes, and then having you and your friend get down real quietly and straight up, pressing the A button and up, hoping that the video game gods will let it work.
Right.
That's the first time I heard a story like that.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, we used to do that because we try and swap the contacts or something like that. It's like, well, dang, it's not working this time. And I'm pretty sure the console's a little bit worn, but I could probably clean it out and take it apart now. But that's another project.
yeah, it just needs to be cleaned.
Let's see. So I only have one other question, and you mentioned creepy pasta, and I'm familiar with that because that's where the Slender Man origin came from, right? There's
Yeah.
a creepy pasta story about that. Does that mean that you are a fan of like horror games or horror movies?
I enjoy them to an extent. I'd say my wife enjoys them more than I do, but I definitely get a lot of enjoyment. So much so, I guess to quantify it, I have 8,830 stories. Some
Oof.
of them are duplicates, and that's just on my hard drive that I copied and pasted from the Creepypasta Wikia. Many of them are bad, and a handful of them are good. one of the things I stream is going one by one through every single one of them, trying to read them all. Not
Nice.
including the episodic ones.
Wow.
It's definitely something different. We
pretty
don't hear,
cool.
we don't hear
Yeah,
things like that.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
you go one by one. You go through them all. You actually read them.
Yes, I read them, and since it's on the stream in that case rather than its own episode, because I can go back and make those its own episode or re-record a better version for audio's purposes. But for the stream, I'm going one for one, and then I'll talk a little bit about it. My God, there's so many bad ones, and just kind of give my take, or if there's something important that I feel needs to be said, like, you get into some dark territory. So it's one of those situations where you definitely want to, you know what, just for my sake and my viewers' sake, I'm not going to condone that, and I don't think anyone else should either, or something like that.
Well, it's good. It's good to say stuff like that. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
because you never know
yeah.
who's listening or who's watching.
Yeah,
How
and
far they would take something.
It won't be then that it happens, though. It'll be like years from now, and then someone will do digging and find
Right.
out it was your fault.
Right.
And you're like, crap,
Like
because I didn't
20
cover myself.
20 years from now, they'll say, "Oh, it's all because of this guy."
Yeah, I guess it's too late now. They've already found out about something I didn't even know.
Wow, that's certainly interesting. You have piqued my interest. I'm gonna check out your channel, I think.
I definitely appreciate it.
All right, that's it for me.
Dizzy?
Yeah, for some reason, I must have been subscribed to you for a long time. I just checked that out. I've been subscribed, so that's good to know. So I must have subbed like a year ago or something. We were mentioning like horror movies, and a lot of times like games and movies kind of go hand in hand in collecting.
Yeah.
Do you do any like maybe like VHS or Blu-ray collecting?
Not so much. Movies I treat differently than I do games. So I guess I'm more profound in regards to games because you feel the experience rather than getting taken through the experience. I do have a handful of VHSs. Got like a Bug's Life. I think do we have a copy of Mewtwo Strikes Back? I don't remember. We do have some VHS, but I wouldn't say we go after them, especially because streaming is so far around that any of the classics that are hard to find or just don't want to get on DVD or something like that, it's just things are just too easy to get now.
Right.
Oh yeah, streaming services.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Screw that. I've been buying DVDs and Blu-rays lately. I ain't dependent on that crap.
Actually, I would like to ask you guys something in regards to forms of media between like digital and physical. So they both have pros and cons. With physical media, at some point they will break down, whereas digital media, at some point it can be outdated. But if you have a hard copy, you lose internet, you have that copy, you can always play it generally.
Yeah, I think that's the reason most of us buy physicals, for that exact reason.
Right.
Who knows when the internet goes down?
Generally speaking, you can still play it, but on some circumstances, you can't play it.
Can't play Final Fantasy 11.
No, I mean, we do have pieces at least in my collection that I know I can't play. There's no servers or anything for. I mean, as far as movies,
I don't know if you... Go ahead, Bones.
I just like having a backup for it so I don't have to worry about, is this one on Netflix at this time? Because I don't pay for any of those services. I refuse to. I'd rather have the DVD if I want to watch it. There it is to watch.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Same here.
Yeah, so you see, especially Netflix in particular, I think, where whether or not something's going to be on there is incredibly volatile. Like they just got rid, right after Christmas, they got rid of like all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle classic movies, live action ones,
Oh,
and
wow.
the Men in Black, and we just happened to watch them all just before they got rid of them on the library.
I don't know why they do that. I understand they need server space and stuff like that, but dude, it's Netflix. They have more than enough capability to keep all their movies on there.
We literally have an entire internet to put it on.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like I don't understand why they just don't keep their files up on Netflix. Like why rotate the movies? Just leave them all there.
That's why I have those Blu-rays.
Did you know they still do send you? They can still send you discs apparently.
Netflix?
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
in
Wow.
certain. Yeah, I can't remember if they do that here in America, but I think in certain areas they can.
That's
Supposedly, and I don't know if it's still true, but when I did get my Netflix subscription, I remember scrolling by that and like it had the picture where it has the sleeves with the CDs that say Netflix, and I'm like, oh, I guess that's still a thing.
funny. I didn't
Good
know
luck
that.
competing with Redbox.
Right.
Right?
So I'm pretty sure no one actually uses it. It's just there for posterity.
Yeah. And
What's one of the oldest consoles you have? Do you have like any Ataris or anything like that?
No, I don't, unfortunately. The oldest console I have is a NES, and it has seen much better days. I was going to try and clean it up and just mount it somewhere or put it on a shelf. And just kind of give it, a good old last hurrah type thing.
Right, they're pretty to look at. You could just have it on a shelf. It'll still look nice.
Well, yeah, and then I can, when people bring their kids over, I can go, this is what we had back in the day.
Make you feel even older.
Back in ye olde time of video games. Back when you actually had to use a controller. You couldn't just touch the screen.
Right?
Whatever, Grandpa.
It had two buttons. That's it. Two buttons.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Put a switch right next to it.
All right. So let's say this: if you had an Atari, like if you had a chance to get an Atari, would you play the Atari games?
I'm not sure that I would.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of have to have that nostalgia for it to play those.
Yeah. My nostalgia is very much between Super Nintendo and GameCube for the most part.
Right.
Like when I actually skipped over N64 in regards to what I got to play most of the time.
Have you played 64?
Yeah, I've played 64 games at other people's houses.
Did you like it or?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I'll say this much.
There's a lot of N64 haters. That's why I asked.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, you can get It almost seems a new manufactured N64 because there's even a manufacturer that's making controllers for it too.
Yeah, the brawler controllers.
Yeah. And which is really interesting, but I'll tell you, Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time hits different with that controller.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's different than playing with a GameCube controller. But I still think the GameCube controller is elite as in regards to Nintendo's controllers.
A lot of people.
It just feels right.
A lot of people don't like the GameCube controller, believe it or not. Same with the N64 controller, though.
Well, the N64 controller, you had a directional button that was completely useless.
Yeah,
Pretty much. I mean,
Pretty
on
much,
some
yeah.
on some of those games, you can change your viewpoint with the directional pad.
Yeah,
That's
but
about
that's
it.
not how- but that's not how the controller's meant to be.
I
held.
know. They want you to
Like,
hold
you
it in the middle instead of holding it on the left side, like.
Yeah, where the trigger is.
Right.
Back when that was still a thing, a trigger all the way on the back, not just the top.
Right.
What's your favorite controllers, guys?
Ooh.
PlayStation,
Yeah.
PS2.
I have to say
Definitely good.
PlayStation.
I like the. I've always liked the 6-button controllers. You know that you can play Street Fighter with, like the Sega Genesis 6-button or the Saturn controller.
I'm gonna have to go with PlayStation.
I'd say PlayStation has definitely got.
They did the
I mean,
recipe right.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
did
they
right.
really did. So I have to say, I would just to add to overall conversation, with between Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft being basically the major competitors in regards to console gaming.
Mhm.
The way I've looked at it is Nintendo seems to be the one that innovates and experiments the most. So you'll get something that's
Yep.
really neat conceptually, but tends not to be as powerful. When you get to Sony, they're like, oh, look what Nintendo did. We can do it better. Unfortunately, it can come off as a little bit copying sometimes, like with the Wii remote thing.
Oh
And
yeah,
then
yeah.
and then Microsoft comes in and go, we gonna take it a step further. And despite it being really cool, like with the Kinect, it comes off a little bit broken. So
You got a point.
So I've always seen these companies as having like really interesting strengths, and I've just been with Nintendo most of that time, and it's definitely a bunch of things that can be appreciated.
That's true.
No, I agree. And Nintendo's really the innovator. And the other companies copy. But they always come back with like Sony and Microsoft come back with more powerful hardware. So
Yeah,
you have people who they are really big into graphics and performance, and they like those consoles. And they always kind of like pass off as Nintendo's. Oh, it's too kiddie-ish. It's like for kids and something. But I agree. Nintendo is really the creative. And they've kept the video game hobby going for many years. Because without them, there wouldn't be video games today.
absolutely. I know myself, I don't care as far as like graphics or anything. There is no good graphic that will save a bad game,
You're right.
in my opinion.
You're right.
True.
It
You're
doesn't
right,
matter
yeah.
how good the graphics are. If the game sucks, it sucks. That's a good point. Any other questions, guys?
What's the console you're playing right now? Are you doing more modern right now, or are you into retro more right now?
I'm mostly modern right now. Mostly a limitation of what my house can do. I've got a 100 amp house rather than a 200, so can't always run more powerful consoles, but the Switch is always great. I've mostly been on the Switch whenever I have been playing games and not on PC.
Have you played
Even,
that 007?
I have not. The last 007 I played was the GoldenEye remake for Wii, and kind of subpar to me.
Mm.
Like it just felt like any other FPS shooter.
I know you've been streaming Minecraft a lot lately.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys had to check his Minecraft thing out, his stream out. He's got like a massive village going on.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's like
Well,
pretty detailed.
I decided to make a stairway to heaven into my
Oh man.
into my sky palace. So the roof is at build height. Current build height is 319, and I decided, all right, I'm gonna build my base. It's gonna be incredibly dangerous, but the other benefit was there's not as much loaded, so it's easier on my PC at the time. So I built a whole bunch of farms. I built a tree farm. I actually got water in there. Got all the farms I need, and then I got some slaves. I mean, villagers.
Man.
You should check it
So-
out though. It's quite the scene. Any questions for us besides what you already asked?
No, I think I'm all right. I've taken every once in a while I'll take a look at your videos on the VGDS channel.
Okay.
Like I went ahead and looked at a couple today just to make sure I was familiar with the format,
Cool.
and I feel like I'm a bad content creator in regards to other people that I want to create
no,
with,
man.
because
There's no
'cause-
bad content creator.
well,
Everybody does their own thing, you know.
yeah. Well, I always feel bad because like I want to give time to watch other people's content and I just don't, and I feel bad because I know some of them are watching mine. But then I also
That's
go
just
back
life.
and yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I also go back and then look at like, well, I'm on the idea that I'm not going to obligate someone to watch my channel. That's why every view is so special.
Right. I hear you. That's true.
Yeah, that's pretty much every YouTuber though.
Right.
Like,
You
yeah.
don't have time
we
to watch
all
everybody.
understand. Like everybody has a life.
Yep.
Did I think someone actually calculated it like 2 years ago. Actually, it may have been MatPat that calculated it, like how many hours worth of content, and it was like more than this planet will exist in hours. Like we'll
Jeez.
have the heat death of at least this galaxy before we would a one person would be able to watch it.
That's
Like if it
crazy.
stopped right now.
Holy crap.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, you've got a whole bunch of 10-hour videos, which I think 10 hours is the current cap for YouTube videos that isn't just a live stream. And then there's people that put out, 2 or 3 videos a day that are 30 minutes to hours long.
Yeah, my releases are just 2 a month. And we usually do an hour to, I think our longest was like 2.5. That's it. We usually don't go too far past an hour point, but if we're talking in depth, we'll keep it going until we stop.
Yeah, that's how my S&G podcast tends to go. Just find something to talk about, and well, I mean the whole podcast is meant to go on tangents anyway. So
Right. Here it's formulated. You see the formula. It just goes.
yeah,
This is the same thing every podcast. If it's an intro like this, this is the same formula we use every podcast. I mean, it works. So why break it? So we just do the same thing over and over again.
oh yeah, I think having a good formula is definitely really good. I do have a bit of a layout and an outline of how I generally do things on my podcast or whatever I'm doing. I want to restructure it, but yeah, I think your guys' format is great.
Thank you, appreciate that. I don't know if you've seen one of my very first ones, but from that point to this point, it took a while to get to where I'm at.
Well,
Yeah, it's definitely evolved over time.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the thing I actually really like about a lot of the channels that have grown so far. When you go back and look at their earliest videos, and thank goodness that they haven't deleted them.
Yeah, I won't
It's
delete
really
mine.
Yeah. You see that point, and you're like, oh my god, that's basically me right now. And the only reason I'm that far is because we can afford to get the things we need to do those things.
Right.
So it definitely can bring things a little bit closer down to earth, so that way the everyman does feel like they can do it. It doesn't feel like an impossible thing to be a content creator.
This is definitely not impossible at all. Making like a podcast for whatever you want to do. No, it's just the nerves to do it, really. Like you gotta have the icebreaker, podcast. Just say you have to have that first podcast. Once you do the first one, the second one gets easier. And then as you go, this is podcast 80. As you get to the 80th podcast, it becomes like the back of your hand. So,
you hit that point. I mean, so I have a Super Nintendo emulator on my computer, and the first game that I managed to record was on that emulator. And the way I had to record it was I got Audacity, so audio. That's the easy part apparently for me. What I had to do was, because I didn't have anything to actually record the game, so I would record the game with this internal thing. But the only one that would record properly made it in a different format that couldn't be recognized. So what I had to do was, after that, replay it. Because it had a thing where it would play up to the point you've stopped.
right.
And there's something else that recorded over that and put it in a format that can be recognized. So it doubled the time that I had to deal with
Jeez,
in recording.
that sucks.
And oh yeah, it was awful. And of course, the worst part is you can see the frames at the bottom. If you go and look at the first Chrono Trigger episode that I have, you'll see exactly what I mean. And I think it's actually called learning in the beginning or something like that. Just because it's so awful. But now I've got everything pinned down. I've got my editing software. I've got my formula. I've got a nice thumbnails now.
Yeah, it takes time. That's all.
Yeah.
Time and learn. You got to learn how to do it.
I find that progression is really what makes viewers inspired a lot of the time.
I mean, if they actually look at your beginning content to what you're doing now, of course. Like,
Yeah.
you have to start from somewhere.
Hmm. Well, I think it's like growing up watching a certain YouTuber rather than jumping into it at whatever point.
Right, right.
But I feel like we have more. I'm 29, so I grew up with it or grew up into it rather than growing up already having it. So maybe that skews my perception or hones it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking to we're an older group in here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so we grew. I guess you could say. What would you guys say with it? I guess. No,
Pretty much, yeah.
because we didn't like when I grew up. I didn't have the internet, so internet didn't come out until like 99, 2000.
Anything actually feasible, anyway.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
I have used dial-up before.
Oh, so
Oh,
you,
yeah.
I would love to pit any kid today that
To
hasn't
use-
done dial-up
to use
do
dial-up.
it.
I grew up with dial-up. That's all we
Yeah.
had.
It's do you know how terrified those kids will be once you start booting up and you get all those noises?
Yeah,
Just
the
wondering, is this
typical
about to
connecting noises. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
20
your
foot
computer
long
sounds
cord.
Yeah. No Wi-Fi back then.
Nah. Had like a 20-foot telephone cable going to the computer.
Yep.
But
Somebody always pick up the other end and screw up the internet.
Yeah. Somebody would use the phone.
Yeah. You gotta disconnect the phones.
Drop the phone. I'm making an email. It's gonna take 13 minutes to send a.
Shit, it's gonna
sentences.
take like 25 minutes to a half hour just to connect to the internet.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, getting the internet off your phone and into to a standard connection was one of the biggest revolutions.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep in mind this is all radio waves that are constantly going through our heads
Right.
that are somehow
Yeah.
giving us instantaneous internet at all times,
Yep.
almost anywhere.
Nothing wrong with that. Oh man.
Like, could you imagine taking someone from like 1995 and just immediately porting them to right now to look at all the technology?
Oh, they would
They
love
would
it.
have a heart.
They would
would
love
have a
it.
heart- I think they'd be so surprised and shocked they'd have a heart attack and die. Like, this isn't how I viewed the future. Like, because the views of the future were so drastically different.
That is
Yeah.
true.
Flying cars.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I think there's also some of the other ones that would go, "What the hell is wrong with you?"
We're
We didn't
headed
get
to the
anywhere.
Jetsons.
Yeah.
Right.
We're headed to the Jetsons, yeah. That's funny. Anyway, any more questions, guys? Anything else? Good?
Yeah, that's it for me.
All right. Go ahead, Dan.
No, I'm good.
All right.
Unless Dren had any questions for us.
No, I think I'm all right.
All right, let's do the final segment, Game of the Month. Bones.
Just go with I don't know. Let's go with Ristar for the Genesis.
That's a good game. Dan.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot about this week about remasters and remakes, especially with Nintendo. So I'll go with Metroid Prime.
Nice.
That came out for the Switch, but just maybe reminded me how great of a game it was back on the GameCube.
Dizzy.
My game is gonna be 007 GoldenEye on the Switch. I played it. The graphics look good. I haven't done any online with anybody else, but just single player is really good.
And Dren.
I think I'm gonna go with Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past.
Nice.
All right, that concludes the podcast. Thanks, Dren, for coming on. Hopefully you can come on again and do a topic podcast. They're listed in the text channel topics for podcasts. So if you see anything that interests you to come back on, let me know.
All right, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate getting to know you, and please check out Dren on his YouTube channel.
No obligation.
No obligation.
Good time.
Thank you. Please like, comment, and subscribe. As always, don't blow, just leave. Later.
See you
Yeah.
later.
Peace.
Bye.
What? Don't laugh, man. The headset hurts my head after a while. I got the glasses on, they crush the damn things into my ears.
Okay, hold on. All right, we're good. Go ahead, Bones. You ready, Bones? Can you hear me? The fuck? Anybody hear me?
Is it
Yeah.
working, or is this just eerie silence?
Hey, what the hell happened?
I'm hearing everyone.
You're hearing me? I must
hear
have
you.
I must have been frozen for a minute there.
Yeah, you cut out, Chris, for a second.
Yeah.
You were silent for a while.
Oh, great. Hopefully that doesn't happen when we record.
What happened?
It just froze up on me or something, like Discord did. Everything else on my computer was working. Weird.
That's not so bad. I once had my little podcast thing where the entirety of the 3 hours, the other person could not be heard because the volume
Oh,
for them
man.
wasn't
Oh,
loud enough.
that
So
actually, believe it or not, that actually happened to us before. But it was on my end. I was, for some reason, OBS didn't detect my mic, and I was silent the whole time. Everybody else was talking. I was asking questions, and you could not hear me in the recording at all.
right, they could hear you, but it didn't pick up on the
Right.
recording.
Damn.
Yeah. Well, this was live, and
Wow.
yeah. When I finally fixed it, we were making jokes about how, wow, what if you just left it like this, and everyone just thought you were a lunatic?
Just get silent.
All right, Bones, try that again.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes. Good.
All right.
Can you hear me now? Good.
Yes.
Dan.
Oh, testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3.
Dizzy.
Check one, check one.
Dren.
Dren Hatamata, mic check.